Audible's romance collection has something to satisfy every side of you. When it comes to what kind of romance you're into, you don't have to choose just one. Fancy a dalliance with a duke, or maybe a steamy billionaire. You could find a book boyfriend in the city and another one tearing it up on the hockey field. And if nothing on this earth satisfies, you can always find love in another realm. Discover modern rom-coms from authors like Lily Chu and Ali Hazelwood, the latest romantasy series from Sarah J. Maas and Rebecca Yarros, plus Regency favorites like Bridgerton and Outlander. And of course, all the really steamy stuff. Your first great love story is free when you sign up for a free 30-day trial at audible.com/Wondery. That's audible.com/Wondery.
The amazing Kate Casey.
Welcome back for another episode of Reality Life with Kate Casey, and welcome back for this Saturday series episode. My guest today is Dani Morin, a passionate safety advocate, child passenger safety technician, and someone whose life was transformed by unimaginable loss. Her story is one of deep grief turned into powerful purpose. Her son Deacon was just 18 months old when he died in October 2016 after a tragic incident at his daycare in Fontana, California. The item at the center of that loss was a Baltic amber teething necklace given to her son as a gift and purchased online. That necklace, which was claiming to be natural and safe for your baby, instead tightened around his neck and strangled him while he napped. Dani shares the intimate details of that day, October 5th, 2016. Drop off at a daycare, a gut feeling that something wasn't right, seeing fire trucks outside the facility, then the hospital and the devastating diagnosis that her son had no brain activity and was being kept on life support, only to allow for organ donation. From this dark place, Dani made a decision. The pain alone was not enough. Instead of being defined by tragedy, she chose to let her son's memory fuel a mission. She has since dedicated herself to raising awareness of baby product safety, teething necklace risks, childcare oversight, and helping other parents make safer choices. She says that grief, although overwhelming, can become a kind of compass pointing to purpose. So in this conversation, we explore not only the heartbreaking loss that she endured, but more importantly, how she transformed it, how someone mourns what could never be undone, yet still finds a way to do something good, something meaningful, something life-affirming. So whether you're a parent or a caregiver or simply someone looking to turn your own pain into progress, I think that her story offers insight, courage, and hope. I was so thrilled to have her. And in fact, many of you have tagged her on posts that I've done over the years. So it was a real thrill to finally connect and then to find out that we knew people in common. So I really hope that you send this to someone who may be in a period of grief right now and is looking for someone as inspiration that can help them walk through this and find something in their life that can be of great meaning. Again, a fantastic guest, and I really hope that you enjoy listening to this conversation as much as I enjoyed interviewing her. Here is my interview with Dani. Dani, I have been wanting to talk to you for quite some time. I remember so many times where people tagged me with your story, and I'm just so thrilled that you're with me today. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm so glad we could connect. Vice versa, people were tagging you. I started listening to the podcast, and I'm like, oh, I hope we could connect at some point.
Well, then to find out that we actually lived in the same town for a period of time, and we have probably crossed paths and didn't even know it.
Over time, we will find all the paths we have crossed because it seems that way already.
Okay, so start from the beginning and tell everybody a little bit about yourself growing up and your earlier years.
So I had a pretty normal life growing up in Rancho Cucamonga. I graduated and went to Cal State Fullerton. It wasn't the school of my choice, but it's the school I got into. And I went to school for radio, TV, film. I wanted to be a video editor, which is funny now that I'm a content creator.
Yeah.
But I wanted to edit like music videos or, I wanted to edit those movie intros. I really wanted to be an editor, like behind the scenes. And so it is funny because now I'm camera facing and editing my own stuff. It's funny how the world works like that. But I had a pretty fun college time. I moved to Newport in college, but I'll just say this, I had a little too much fun. So I was working for a wine company and I sold wine, and it was part of the fun. And so if you sell wine, you also get to drink the wine. It's like, don't get high on your own supply. So I was having fun with the wine and living in Newport. Life was great. And I fell pregnant off of a one-night stand.
Wow.
So, and it's so funny because I did not know for the longest time. I had a doctor tell me, you won't be able to get pregnant because you have a PCOS and like a tilted cervix or something like that. And so I'm like, okay, so I just like didn't really think anything of it. I didn't really have normal periods. So it's not like I missed a period. I'd go like months without a period, which was very normal for me. So one day I just called my sister up. It was her birthday. And I'm like, girl, I think I'm pregnant. I just have a feeling I'm trying to suck in my stomach. It's not sucking in. I've had this like bloat for so long. And she's like Googling things and she's like, okay, so I take a pregnancy test and it's all right away. I didn't even need to wait 30 seconds.
It's like ding, ding.
Yeah. I was like working and I went into like a Starbucks and I just like took it there, So I call my sister and she's like, yeah, but you were stressed out yesterday and you took a Xanax. So it's probably a false positive. And I was like, no, nothing's been more positive. Like it was like 30 seconds, like you're very pregnant. So I found out like the gender, like the same time that I found out that I was like pregnant at the doctor. Like I was pretty far along, not far along. Like I was hitting my second trimester.
Okay.
So, it was the craziest thing because I always just wanted to be this like single girl, make a lot of money, live in some like high rise in New York, or live in Newport. Like, that's the vibe that I was putting out for my life. Was just, I'll be the cool aunt or something. Like that's what I wanted to do. And it's funny because when I found out that I was pregnant, when I was like sitting there and they're like, confirmed pregnancy, you're having a boy, something came over me and I was like, felt like this like overwhelming need to protect this baby, that like motherhood was now my whole purpose. I remember going home and it was like, no question, like I'm keeping this baby. I call my mom and I'm like, I'm pregnant and she was like, I'm going to call you back in like 2 minutes. And she called me back because I was like, this isn't what a mother wants for her daughter. Like she's single, And so my mom was just like, look at like, you're going to be an amazing mom and I'm going to help you where I can. And let's like pull up our bootstraps and we'll figure this out. And
Great
she was
mom.
super supportive. I tell her, I'm like, you should write a book on like because I think a lot of people like me, it's like, I knew motherhood was my purpose, but I was so also worried about like disappointing everybody else, mostly my mom and my family. So having that support from the beginning of like, this is not really what I had wanted for you, but whatever the reason, this is how it is. And like, I'm going to support you was super helpful just in the pregnancy alone, because I felt a lot of like shame and guilt around it. Like I didn't even want to create a baby registry because I'm like, baby registries are for people who like did it the right way. Like that's kind of how I felt. But immediately I went home after like told my mom, had to tell the family. I go home and I'm like looking up baby gear, looking up baby products, researching, sleep stuff and how do you feed them and breastfeeding. And I'm researching everything. And I just like had this like overwhelming of like, I just want to be the best mom. And maybe I was trying to make up for what had happened, but I was like, it was like clear as day that my whole purpose being on this earth is to be a mom to this boy. So, I had a really easy pregnancy, and the newborn stage was really easy. I had moved back here to Rancho Cucamonga. So I was in Newport. I moved back like a couple weeks before he was born because I was doing the math on daycare.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the math ain't mathin'. The diapers and the clothes and the food and potentially formula, who knows? And the daycare, I'm not going to be able to live here, And so I moved back into my family home, which was the best thing, right? Because I still had some siblings there. Like my mom was there. And we just all kind of raised this little boy. His name was Deacon. And I say was because that's just what it is. We'll get into that. And we just had a ball. It was like me and my siblings, like we agree. It was like, for whatever reason, God had us kind of like come back into the home. Like my sister was in between like college and her like master's degree. And like my brother was like, so intermittently my mom was just an empty nester. And then we all came home and there was this little boy there and we just had the best time.
Yeah.
And he was everything to us. I mean, he brought our family together in ways like you couldn't imagine. It was just, I look back at that time, like probably the best time of my life. And so I talk a lot about the cost of daycare, but I was trying to find perfect daycares and I was doing all the research and I sent him to a daycare that was negligent. So they were running like a kid meal and that they had gotten in trouble for. I did not know this. So basically what happens in California with daycares is, and I'll preface this because I don't know if you're going to put this in here, but I'm going to preface it with this. Thousands of planes take off every day. We only hear about the ones that crash. So when I'm telling my story right now about a daycare, everyone's going to go, I'll never put my kid in daycare. I'm going to be a home wife and I'm going to make sourdough bread. And this is like what I'm going to do. And I'll never put my kid in daycare. Thousands of daycares run successfully and they love their kids and they're great providers every single day. And I'm telling you about a bad apple. So on October 16th or October 5th, 2016, I went to pick up my son from daycare and I rolled up and there was all these fire engines and EMS cars. And I'm like, what is going on? And I'm like running up to the daycare. And I'm like, is this my kid? But they would have called me. But I'm just like, I got to get my kid out of there because something's going on. Right. And the fire chief came out to me and he was like, he said some big words about like his heart. So I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, well, he doesn't have a heart problem. Like, what is he talking about? Regardless, I was like, so I tried to get into the daycare because I'm like, well, what happened? And they were hiding things. There was like things going on. So then I'm like, I got to get to the hospital because I don't know where he's at. And I get to the hospital, the daycare owner hopped in my car and she like, when we're kind of stuck in traffic and I'm like calling my mom, my mom's very Catholic. She was like doing the rosary and I'm like, I think he's going to die. Like,
well, did they say at any point, this is your son, Deacon, and he's been taken to the hospital?
Yes. So a fire chief, I think someone was like, that's the mom. And he came up and was like, okay, so blah, 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 his heart stopped. And like, that's all I heard. And I'm like, okay. So the daycare owner got in the car with me and she was like, you're going to want to blame us, but just know also it was the necklace. And I'm like, what necklace? Well, he wore a Baltic amber teething necklace. So now you have kids of like different age ranges, but they're very,
I remember them.
You see them around, they're still around. You see them around Newport. It was very much like the all natural moms. Like that was like your badge of honor is like you wore one and everyone knew that you were cloth diapering, breastfeeding and doing the all crunchy natural mom thing. Like I had kind of gotten down that rabbit hole, which is something like I blame myself for. So I'm like, why would she say like, I'm going to want to blame them? Right. So I'm like, what is going on? But I didn't really have time to like think about it. We were then in the hospital for a couple, maybe like 5 days. No, 5 days. We were in the hospital for 5 days and they had all these neurologists come in and they're like, hey, there's like no activity. And they just like type in this computer and it was like time of death, like October 10th, 3:03 p.m. It was like something weird like that. And I'm like, it's just like that. Like that. It's just because you're still connected to all these things. So it was like a really weird time. I donated his organs. And then I got into like investigative mode. Like, I'm like, what was going on with the daycare? Now, we do know that the necklace had something to do with it because there was a strangulation mark. But I'm like, what was going on with the daycare? And I was started getting all these texts from people about, yeah, that daycare, you should look into it. My daughter went there and this happened, and all these crazy things. So come to find out that they were in California, the license number, it doesn't follow the provider. It follows an address. So if a daycare gets shut down for being negligent, all they need to do is move or rent a home. So they had gotten in trouble for years. She had been doing this for like 40 years, and she would get shut down and she would rent the home next door, just run her daycare there. And so they were basically running a kid meal. That year, for the past couple of years, they'd gotten ratio issues. And they're supposed to have 2 infants and 4 other kids. There was 22 kids there that day.
Wow.
And 2 people, 2 providers. 6 of them were infants, including my son. So under 2, you're considered an infant.
Mm-hmm.
Now, kids had come out and said, like, we were all playing and then he got hurt. Maybe another kid pulled the necklace and choked him. We don't know the situation. I still don't know the logistics of it all. But we do know that they found him and they were worried that they were going to get caught watching too many kids. So they started hiding kids and figuring things out. And they called their boss. And I think it was in a text message. They texted their boss, like, Deacon's not breathing. And she said, don't call 911 until I get there, which was like
Lord.
6 minutes later. So when she got there, there was a nurse came to pick up her kid. She put her kid in the car and the kid's like, yeah, Deacon's in there. He's not breathing. She was a nurse. So she goes back and she's like, is there a kid in here unresponsive? Like, what's going on? That's the nurse that started doing like CPR and stuff. And at that point, the owner got there and she called 911. But they found the text messages. So that's what put them in jail because they didn't call 911 or attempt CPR. Mm-hmm. And what the like EMS and like the fire chief had said is like, had we been there, because they were able to get a pulse again, had we been here 10 minutes earlier, he'd be fine. It would be a completely different outcome. So so that's why I'm like, 2 things were true at one time. He was strangled by his teething necklace and nobody was watching him. They were negligent. They were watching too many kids. So that whole situation happened. And then I just had all these parents reaching out. Like, my kid went to one of their daycares once and this happened and this happened. I'm like, oh, we are not telling people about it? You're just going to pull your kid and like not call the cops and like not report it to the state? Like, okay, cool. Because us moms should be helping each other. And now I have a dead kid but this similar thing happened to your child, or you noticed too many kids and you just pulled your kid. You didn't tell anybody. Like, so I was like so angry, but that his death sent me in a downward spiral. Like, I did not want to live spiral. Like, it was the worst situation I'd ever been in. Every single day was like dark and gloomy. I started drinking heavily and like medicating with bad things. And I could not get out of it. I think I gained like 100 pounds in the year. I mean, it was just like, you could just look at me and it was just like a dead soul. And so every day I was just like praying to God. Like, I'm like, just don't let me wake up tomorrow. I'm just going to party. Like, I don't want to wake up. And I kept
because you didn't
waking
want
up.
to feel.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't even want to wake up. Just like, let me. Now, I had lost a dad to alcoholism and he just didn't wake up. So I figure like, I'll just go down that path,
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I kept waking up and like one day I had like some sort of like spiritual awakening that it was like, you keep waking up. Like, is this how you want to live your life? Like, this is not cool,
Mm-hmm.
So this was like a couple years after. And I immediately like called my mom and like kind of everyone in my life dissipated. Like, no one was going to put up with this behavior. Like, at first it's like, we feel bad for her, but like now it's just like, you can't even fix this, So I called my mom, was like, I think I need to go to rehab. And so I did. So, and that was coming up, November 5th, I went. So on November 6th, I'll have 7 years sober.
Wow.
Yeah. So I went, it was like life-changing. I think I needed to just like turn everything off and like get proper therapy. That's like everyday sort of situation. But it was crazy because years had gone by and now I'm like in this random rehab house with like all these people with all these other problems. Like, my problems are minimal compared to theirs. And I'm now grieving by myself, sober and I don't know anyone there, And so that was kind of like a really, like, that's some deep, like inner workings because like I don't have my mom to come for me. I don't have friends that I could talk to about it. It's just like me and the grief. But I got out and everything. When I came out, I just like was so focused on just like getting my life back. And my life just kind of skyrocketed from there. Like it was like the best thing to ever happen to me. And I kept it simple for like the first year, like just, stay sober, go to meetings, try to, mend things with friends and family. But you just gotta, be sober. And work got better. My career got better. I worked for a publishing company and like everything was just getting better. And it got to a point I was like driving with my mom once and she was just like, you're doing so good. Like, I wish that there was a way that I know you just like, cause I think for me at this point I had moved back to Newport.
Mm-hmm.
So I had moved back to Newport and, my mom we were in Newport and we were driving around and she was like, I wish that there was a way, like, you're doing so good. You're like living the life you want, but I know what's most important to you is to be a mom. And in Newport, the moms are out and about. They're with the strollers. The moms groups thrive in that area. Like the school kids, like, it's just like, it was all around me. And I'm like, I know my purpose is to be a mom and I'm just like, not one, And everyone would be like, you're still a mom, just your mother from earth and he's in heaven. Like people would say all this stupid stuff. And I'm just like, you don't get it, So basically my mom's like, I wish there was a way you could be a mom again. Like, I wish there was a way you could just like, get some, like a friend, and you get sperm or something and, have a baby. And like, I was sitting in the backseat and like a light went off and I was like, is that something I could do? I hit up HRC Fertility. I go in there and Dr. Potter. So I call him and I'm like, I want to have a meeting with you and see about, I want to be a single mom. Like, how do I go about this? So I met with them. They actually had me come to, it was like this orientation thing. It was a very salesy thing, but it's like all the different ways you could have babies and they explain it all and you could talk to the doctors. And so there's like all these families there that are like going down that path. And so I was like, I want to talk to you about if you know anyone who's done this, is this even an option? How much is it going to cost? And so I met with them 2 or 3 times and they're like, yeah, so you could actually, because you have PCOS and this like tilted cervix and like all this stuff, you could actually probably get some of this covered by insurance. And I was going to go the route of IUI. So the first thing I had to do was find a donor, right? So they're like, these are the different places you could, now I think they just work with like California Cryobank. But they're like, you got to find a donor. And so I was like ready to go to do IUI at Dr. Potter's office, HRC. Well, I go in there and they're like, so your insurance is denying you. So it was going to come out to like $12,000, like every time I tried to do this. And I was like,
wow.
God, like this is like crazy, So I was leaving and this girl that works there, she was all kind of pulled me aside and she's like, hey, when you go home, because I was devastated. I'm like, I'm never going to be a mother, And people are going to ask too, like, why didn't you try dating? I tried dating. Like, trust me, I was going on dates every night. Like, I had just been like, I'm going to settle for somebody at this point because my want to be a mother was like overpowering. So, but anyways, this girl's like, when you go home, go on Facebook and find the lesbian groups. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Oh yeah, because they get the donors.
She's like, go find the lesbian groups, like home insemination. And she's like, you got to find the lesbians. They will show you the way. And she kind of like sends me on out the office. So I I don't even think I had a Facebook at the time. I had to like create one. And I go on and I find these groups and like right away, this stuff that I was seeing is like, girls are like, okay, I'm on 12 hours. And I'm reading all the things like, what do you guys think I should do from here? This is what my ovulation strip looks like. I'm like, what's an ovulation strip like? And it's like, okay, so I took Vitex. I'm like, what's Vitex? Like, oh, supplements from Sprouts. Like, and I'm just like taking notes. Like, and they're just like going off on the comments and people are like, hey, this is my ovulation test. Do you think I should inseminate now? And people are like, no, you want to wait 12 hours. Once it hits this line. And like, there was so much going on. And I'm just like taking notes for months. And so I finally told him, I was like, okay, I'm not lesbian. I appreciate you guys having me in this group. I need you guys to show me the way. And they were like, we're going to show you the way. So I also had found, I heard they had told me, they're like, okay, so what you would be is what's called a single mom by choice or a single mother by choice. They're like, the variation is like SMBC. There's other groups on Facebook, not that they're kicking me out of their group, but they're like, that you might align with. So I had like joined some of those. So I was in like 3 different groups, like kind of just on the back end, like trying to figure out how to go about this. So I finally I get sperm and so it's like the ordering process is crazy. So people always say like, well, how do you find a donor? So there's a couple things you have to do. So first and foremost, I'm a carrier of a gene called cystic fibrosis.
Okay.
So I had to filter out that I can't be shown anyone that is a carrier also. So my pool at any...
How did you know that you were a carrier of that? Because it's
my
such
first
a
pregnancy.
specific thing. Okay.
My first pregnancy, they tested me, they tested me and they were like, oh, did you know you're a carrier? And I'm like, no. So now my son didn't have it or anything like that. But that's how I found out. So they're like, going forward, any partners that you have, they have to get tested, you know?
Mm-hmm. My godmother had 2 children die of cystic fibrosis.
Well, and they used to not test for it. And it's crazy too, because if the dad carries it and the mom doesn't, there's no reason to test the dad, right? So a lot of times, like then people have kids and the kid has it, but they don't know they have it, you know? So I wish that like genetic testing was paid for by our states or federally for the mom and the dad just upfront, you know, for a number of reasons. But yeah, so I had to filter that first. And then I started looking at like, I mean, you could see like, I think my guy said like athletic mathematician or something. And I was like, okay, so smart and athletic. I was like, you know, whatever. And then there's all these things. Like I felt like, you know, their entire family history, like how grandparents pass, parents pass, if there's any medical, like, you know, everything. Like I always tell people I know more about my son's donor than I do about my own dad.
And I do think people would love to know about Deacon's father. Did you ever talk to him again? Did he ever know about Deacon or Deacon's passing?
He knew about Deacon and we didn't, there was limited communication. Yeah. He just wasn't interested. And then when he passed, I did hear from him maybe like 4 months later. And he was like asking to see like pictures of him or something. I think he honestly found out from the news, to be honest, or something like that. So again, very limited, no ill will towards the guy, but just he was not interested in the situation. So, but if I were to see him on the street today, I would probably say hi. I mean, but it's just like 2 strangers, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyways, back to this like donor situation. So I chose a donor and then you buy the vials and they recommend you do 2 vials per cycle. I was like, well, this is my first time ever doing it. And I don't want to spend money on 2 vials and then like, you know, I mess it up or something. Let me just buy one and it'll be like kind of a test run. So depending on now the donor that I chose a donor that had the least amount of pregnancies. Now, the donors that have the most pregnancies, their sperm is more expensive because they have success.
Got it.
But I looked at it where I was like, I don't want to, if I can have like less amount of like siblings running around. So the only thing I knew about the donor that I chose when I had called him is that there was somebody who had made embryos with this donor, but she never used them. And it was like 10 years ago. So I don't know. So now I'm sure he has kids of his own now. And who knows? This is like conversations I'll have to have with my kid. But so I chose this, I think it was like $600 or $700. And then it's like $200 to ship it because they ship it in a cryo tank. Like they just ship it to you. And so I got this cryo tank and then I had like I got the positive ovulation test and I literally was like having some of the lesbian girls that I had met on Facebook, like walk me through like, okay, now you're going to do this. Now you're going to do this. And now the God thing comes into it because people are like, that's playing God. And like you would put, I knew that like, I am a religious girl. So I had kind of had this talk with God and I'm like, I don't want to, I got 3 months worth of vials. And if I don't get pregnant in 3 months, like I'll keep dating, like, and I'll find the one because I do believe like there's someone out there for me. But if you want me to get pregnant and like, this is like, cause I'm feeling called to do this and you want this for me. And this isn't just like me being crazy. Have it happen on the first time. So you still have to spend all this money,
so
right?
You're making this agreement with God.
And people will be like, I don't feel right about that. But look I felt right about it. So lo and behold, I got pregnant on the very first try. So it was so crazy because, you're in these Facebook groups and everyone's like doing their insemination. And like some people are like, oh, it wasn't my month. It wasn't my month. And I'm like, okay, like I know what they say. Like it could take up to, 6 times if you're fertile and good. Now I'd had a full fertility workup already because I was planning on doing it at HRC. Mm-hmm. So I knew that everything like that I was prime time. Like I knew I didn't have any polyps or anything like that. So I got pregnant on the first try. And it was so funny because I called my mom and the conversation this time was much different than when I called her when I was pregnant with Deacon. And I had to tell her, that story. So when I called her, I think she was like in Fiji, she was traveling. And I was like, I really need to talk to you. And so I was like, remember when we're in the car and you were saying like, I wish there was a way you could just like get pregnant somehow, like a friend or like, something like that, like sperm somehow. I was like, so I did that. And she was like, stop. She's like, are you pregnant? And I was like, yes. And it was just like a glorious thing for her. She was like, oh my God, I'm so happy for you. This is like, people are going to go crazy. She's like, I mean, do I even ask? Like, is it some sort of arrangement? Like, and I was like, no, I like literally ordered sperm. And she didn't care. She was like, do I even want to know? I mean, who cares, right? Like, whatever. She was like, I'm just like so happy for you. So it was a much different phone call than like the first time.
She's probably so joyful for you given the immense grief that you have been through. And that's not to say that your family also to say that your family had been through such grief too, your siblings and your mother. I mean, the loss of Deacon must have been so massive that the joy of another baby entering the world must have been enormously gratifying.
And I think it was. And so I think that's why like there wasn't really any questions. And everyone in our family I think was like, I can't believe she did this. Like she's so insane, but like we're so happy and like excited,
Mm-hmm. What kind of paperwork did they give you on the birth father? So is it limited?
So how that works is you could go anonymous or you could go open. So there's some donors that they're open to potentially meeting the donor kids at some point. Like, I thought that's weird. And now, this is just me. Most people actually go open. Okay. Now, this is how I personally see it. We're at a place with AI and with just technology that by the time my kid's 15, he's going to go up to like a screen. It's going like, rah, rah, here's your ancestors and here's your family, right? Like it's just, we're not going to have privacy. Everyone's going to know everybody and you're going to know everything. So even like listening to your podcast and like those stories, right? It's like, they never thought that there'd be like a 23andMe. Like, you know what I mean?
I know.
So just if I'm being honest and realistic, by the time my kid's 15, like where we're at, it's just going to be like, you could go up to a screen, or like prick your finger on something. And it's like, oh, here's everything you need to know about everything, So, and I'm very much aware of that, but, I was just like, no, I'm having this baby and I know I'm going to meet someone someday and he's going to have a family. And if he ever feels the need to search out the donor sperm, the donor, I'll support that. Cool. Like, let's go on the journey. It'll be very easy by that point. But I went anonymous. And then if you go anonymous, you only see baby pictures. If you go open, I believe you could see adult photos. I believe you might even get to like chat with them or something. I don't know.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's different sperm banks have different rules and regulations. So I went I went through Cryos International. There's like Fairfax, California Cryo. There's all of the different state cryobanks. I didn't want to go through a state cryobank because then the likelihood, if you're saying California, like donor kit, so mine was more of international. In fact, I think he was from Canada or something. I don't even really know. I have to go back in there, but you get, their entire genetics workup. They write a letter. You could hear their voice. If they're religious, like what they're.
But you don't know their first name?
No, they make up names.
Okay. Is there any part of you ever that's laying at night and maybe you're just like looking across the room and just studying your child's features and wondering who that person may be?
You know what, Sonny, is like, no, but when he's out playing baseball or soccer, I go, that donor for sure lied about the athletic part. So we'll
in fairness, maybe they got, grandparents' genes or something.
Yeah, who knows? And it was so funny too, because when I had picked, then I start filtering more and I'm like, okay, well, I'm having a baby on my own. I'm going to pick features that look as much like me as possible, right? Brown hair, blue eyes. Like my kid came out like red hair, blue eyes. Now he's blonde. So where the donor had like brown curly hair. So I'm like, we joke around too. I'm like, maybe there's something wrong. I don't know. But, so I don't really think about it, but I'm also in a place too where like I met somebody and he's in the process of adopting my son.
Amazing.
And he's been around for a couple years. So yeah, so I had my son and it was just like, he's so different from my son Deacon. I was worried about
and then I ended up meeting somebody.
Okay. And then I ended up meeting somebody. So my son Rhett was so different than my son Deacon.
By the way, these baby names are just awesome. You did such a good job with their names.
Thank you. They were so opposite. I was worried when I was going to have another boy that I was going to do the comparison of the boys. But they were so completely opposite to this day. Like just the most opposite kids. Now, my son Deacon died at 18 months old. He was in size like 5T. My son Rhett, when we were in the hospital, one of the nurses was like, oh my gosh, was this happen at kindergarten? And I'm like, no, he's just like a big 18-month-old, like almost 2-year-old. Like he was a big kid. So, but my son Rhett, he's so different. And he was that time was so special, just having a baby again. And like I was put back where I belonged, and there was I never felt like I'm like, oh, he replaced him. I still very much have a hole in my heart for Deacon. I felt like I'm able to manage that grief more, but my son Rhett is he's so special and he healed me in different ways. And so much so that I felt like I had so much love, right? I was like loving this child that I lost. I'm loving this new child. I'm loving myself really for like the first time. I had all this respect for myself and like my sobriety and my life and like my passions and my jobs and all of these things. I was just, I was also loving myself. So much so that I decided to start posting online, which is crazy. I actually I started sharing my story and about losing my son, knowing that it was going to come with a lot of probably blame on me and stuff. But I felt like I was like, it's just something I got to do. Like, I got to share this story. Like, I'm going on the news and I'm in Parenting Magazine and I'm in all these magazines and these news articles. And like, I'm like, there's got to be a bigger way to reach more moms about checking out their childcare and like not putting these necklaces on them. So I got on TikTok at the time, was like popping off. I heard that's the quickest way to get your message out there. And I think one video, it's like 6 million views by moms. And how TikTok works is it's putting that video right in the hands. Instagram's getting more like that now, but how the algorithm was, it's like that video is going directly to moms, So I just kept posting. And one day I posted the story about how I had my son. People were not happy about it, to be honest.
Well, who cares what they think?
People had so many things to say about it. But the best part was moms that were like, oh my gosh, like I've been in this relationship for 7 years. I know I'm not supposed to be in it, but I want to be a mom. Like you just saved me from like marrying the wrong guy. Like
Wow.
I'm not planning on doing this right now, but knowing that it's an option has like changed everything for me. I had a girl that was like, hey, I'm turning 40 years old. I'm a lawyer. Like I've just like dedicated everything to like my work. And like, would you help me? Like, I want to do this. And I'm like, okay, here's someone who's financially stable. Like she's put together, like, yeah, I'll help you. Now there was like some girls that are like 25 and I'm going to want to meet a man. And I'm going to do what you did. I was like, no, go travel. Like come back to me when you're 35.
Yeah.
So those stories and like those people that were like, thank you so much. Like I thought I had to spend $40,000 on IVF. Like, so, and then it was mostly men that were just like not happy about it. So I'm like,
wow.
okay, well,
Very telling.
yeah. So it was, but whatever. Every year I repost the video because I want to see how the tone has changed over the years as we've gotten more progressive about like the different family styles. And it's really interesting because it is more on the positive side now 5 years later. But yeah, so I started doing that. And then I had started this clothing line for breastfeeding moms. And a girl that I knew mutually, I had her come over to model some of my clothes. And she's like, I'm shocked like you haven't met anybody. She's like, you're just like a total package. I just bought my first house and like I had this brand and like I was like doing the influencer thing. And she was like, I'm just shocked you haven't met anyone. Like, I'm going to like make it my mission to like set you up. And I'm like, yeah, okay. The amount of times I've heard that, you know?
Yeah.
And she stayed true to her mission. She sent me a video of this guy dancing at a wedding. She's like, I'm at this wedding and I have this mutual friend. Like, I think you guys would totally hit it off. Like, you guys should go out. And so I went out with this guy like the very next week and he set up a date. We went to Newport. So he's a realtor. We went to Newport and our date, we went to like all the open houses, like, you know, the $20 million houses and stuff like that. And so we ate at like the Deck and Laguna and we went to open houses and we just like had so much fun. And I'm like really hitting it off with this guy. And then he's like, yeah, so I actually live in like New Hampshire. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, he's like, I live out there right now. And he's like, and I was like, oh, this is too good to be true. We FaceTimed like for the next month. He literally went back there like a couple days later. And then he just decided, he's like, I think I want to move back to California. I have plans. I'm going to like live in my friend's back house for a little bit until I figure it out. Would you want to fly out here and we'll road trip back to California? And I'm like, I've never left my son more than a couple days. Like, absolutely not. But also maybe, you know? So I got on a plane and we went out there and it's the quickest and best way to get to know somebody.
Yeah, probably.
You know, so you're in a car with someone 10 hours in the day and we stopped, we did all the national parks and we did all these like cool things along the way. And it was 10 days. And it's like, I mean, I fell in love with this guy in like 10 days. Like they should do a show where people get in a car with somebody for 10 days and see how it works out. But yeah. And so I posted our trip, but I didn't post his face. And so people followed along this journey and we called it the road trip to love. And I was just like keeping everyone posted, like I'm falling in love with this guy. And it was like, people were watching this unfold on social media and they're like rooting for me because everyone's like, oh my gosh, she's been through like so much. Like Rhett deserves this. Like she deserves this. Now my husband at the time was a 35-year-old full gray hair. So everyone's thinking like, I've met this like silver fox, like, yeah, like sugar daddy. Like, and yet people were still like, hey, you go girl, like super stoked for you. This looks great. So it was the funniest thing. Like everyone like watched it like all pan out. And a couple months later, I decided like, you know, I had moved him into the house and like, and so I finally showed him and people were like, oh, this guy's young. Like everyone thought he was like this older guy. And so we got engaged pretty quickly after. So the road trip was in August. We got engaged that following February and we got married in November, which was this past November.
Wow.
And then, my last cycle was December 27th. I got pregnant. And we just had twins 5 weeks
my
ago.
gosh.
6 weeks ago this week, we had twin girls. So one of their names is Brady. Her name is Brady Lynn, after Tom Brady, because my husband is from the New England area and big football guy. And so Brady, and then the other baby's name is Bryn Marie. And so, so we have a full house. We have like both of our moms like super on deck. It's just like a lot of breastfeeding, a lot of chaos, like beautiful chaos. Like my son's in all the sports, and it's just trunk or treat after trunk or treat this week. And we just bring these babies along with us and go to the apple orchard and do all the things. And it's like I'm living out everything I've ever prayed for, and it's the craziest thing.
Well, I also think what a way to celebrate your son's life was, you needed that year just to process, but you decided to fully embrace life in a way that he never was able to.
Yeah. Well, and I try to keep his story alive. And I think the blessing of social media is that so many people know his name and say his name.
Yeah.
Like millions of people know his name and say his name from all over the world. And they know his story and they talk about his story and they know me and they're happy for me. And so I'm like, I feel like he didn't die in vain. Like there's a mission behind his death, and like that I've been trying to like live that out. And I've, beyond the necklace and childcare, I become a child safety advocate for all things baby. There's probably like car seats back there. And like, so I do like a lot with like car seat safety, baby proofing, safe sleep, like all sorts of stuff online and with baby products, and making sure people don't get bamboozled by dangerous baby products and marketing schemes. And so I feel like I've lived out his mission by becoming a child safety advocate, just in all things. And it makes me feel really good. And I think it makes him feel or look down and feel good that I'm doing this in his name, And I know not everyone can do that when their kids pass. It's like really hard to like share their story. And it is like, it comes with, as much as it comes with people saying, thank you so much for sharing this with me, it also comes with like, you're a bad mom. Like, how could you let this happen? So, but I always post. I post for the moms that are like, hey, I had no idea about this. Thank you so much. I post for them,
When you were in some of the lower points, what was the prayer that you had?
There wasn't really a prayer. Like I was really actually angry with God. So when my son died, I was like, my God's not taking kids. Like what? And so I was saying like, I hate God, like, and I was like cussing at God. And I had someone tell me like, well, the good thing is that you can't hate something that doesn't exist. So you still believe in God. You're just mad at him. So that's fine. Like eventually you'll get back to giving it up to him and like giving your anxieties up and like helping you guide you in different things. And I'm like, oh, what a concept, right? Because if I believed God didn't exist, I wouldn't hate him. So, like, I don't hate lamp, So, so I think it just got to a point where I started asking God, just put my next foot in the right direction, just one step at a time. Like, let me know that
prayer. I like that.
Let me know the next indicated step, because I think we get put with so many crossroads and we don't know what to do. So I'm just like, what's the next indicated step? And I think a lot of moms, I'm in the postpartum, it's like, what do we do next? Do we keep our corporate jobs? Do we take a pause? Do we do, what's the thing? So I just am like, what's the next indicated step? Like, you guide me, pick up the foot and put it where it goes, because I don't know what to do, So, and I've kind of just like lived off of that. And it sent me like to the moon, I feel like, I really like scored at life, I feel like. But also it came with a lot of like suffering and grief that I still have. But the good definitely, the bad was pretty bad, but the good is helping me manage what was bad.
These 3 little babies, is there a part of Deacon that you see in them?
I try to find like little things. The babies are so small right now, and like they don't really have like personalities yet. My son Rhett is just so completely opposite than him. But he loves him. Like he actually told me, we were doing prayer the other night, and he's praying. My son goes to a dual language immersion program. So it's the Spanish, they have those in Orange County, but it's a Spanish school. So it's full Spanish. So he's like, I want to set up like Day of the Dead. It's called Dia de los Muertos. Like, I want to set up an altar, but he says all this to me in Spanish. So we go on Amazon and he tells me like what I need to order. So he's setting it up and he's like, now we pray. And so I'm like, who do we pray to? And he's like, God. So I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, because now we have all like our loved ones are on the altar. So I'm like, are we praying to that? Like, he's like, God, thank you for my favorite brother. I wanted to make a TikTok on this. He's all, thank you for my favorite brother, my brother Deacon. Now, mind you, my son was born after he died. He's my favorite brother because he doesn't cry. He's not annoying. And that's why he's my favorite brother. Amen. I was like, okay, he's not taking these new babies well. He doesn't cry and he's not annoying.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, I try not to do like the comparison. There's different things that will happen. Like my son will be like, oh, can I have some cherry tomatoes? And I'm like, your brother loved cherry tomatoes.
Yeah.
Or we'll be like eating strawberries and I'm like, oh, he used to call them bawberries. And now my son only calls them bawberries, you know? So like little things that we do to like keep him alive. And now we can openly talk about him all the time. There was times where I'm like, I don't even want photos in the house. Like I can't even, you know? So, but yeah, now we could just openly talk about him. And sometimes people will come up to me on the street and be like, your story changed my life. Like, oh my gosh, thank you for sharing. And I'll get like emotional, but I could talk about my son now and keep his story alive and all the good things. And my son plays soccer. My son Deacon loved kicking around the soccer ball in the backyard. And so my son Rhett plays soccer and we like to joke. We're like, yeah, Deacon would have been D1. You know?
Well, especially if he was wearing a 5T at 18 months.
He was a big kiddo.
Like football. Yeah. I want to also acknowledge how wonderful this husband of yours is. Because he gets in a car with a woman who's grieving her son, and he fully embraced you in your life.
It was really wild too, because, you know, he didn't come out and ask about him right away. Like we had this like 5-hour stretch and he was like, kind of looked over and he's like, I'm ready to talk about Deacon if you are. And I was like, okay. Cause that's like a lot to unpack, you know?
Yeah.
And what I learned about him, my husband, is that I wear my heart on my sleeve. So you say something that makes me emotional, I'm just going to tell you what it is. He takes everything in and he will like process it for a while. And I noticed this with his friends, like they'll all be in a conversation. He's processing something and he'll be like, earlier you said something about this, you know, where I'm not like that. So at first I was like, does he care? Like what's going on? And then later that night, he was like, that's like really heavy, you know? And, like, I'm really proud of you. Like, you know, so that's just like how he works. But I'm like, he had to like date and like marry this girl who also is like parenting this child from like in heaven that he's never met. And sometimes that comes with like rage and anger, you know, because I just went through the anniversary of my son's death. And I get a little bit of like a rage around there because, you know, people say, and I know I'm a Christian woman, like, you know, you got to forgive. People say forgive and forget. But I like to say, you know, forgive and forget. I'm not God. And I also don't have dementia. So that's not going to happen, probably. And I have stopped wishing harm on those people. Like sometimes I would be like, if a bus is going to hit anyone today, have it be the daycare owner. Like I would say things like that. I stopped saying things like that. So I'm like, I'm making progress, but like, I mean, that's still like hits heavy. So I get a little bit of anger, but he has just learned to parent this child that he's never met, like through dating and marrying me. And he's so similar to my son, Rhett. People like to joke that like he's the sperm donor. Like if you look at their faces and everything, like they kind of look alike. So it is like, it's kind of funny. And he jumped into fatherhood right away. Like he knew exactly what to do. Like he manages our house. Like he manages the calendar, the sports, like he does the cooking, he does everything. And just so that I can live out my dreams, doing all my businesses and my jobs and all of these things. And he manages, like, he says he's a stay-at-home dad that holds a real estate license at this point. So, and I'm just like, in this season, like, I really enjoy working, and there'll be another season where you go back to work, you know?
Yeah.
So, it's been really interesting, but we're in the process of my husband, adopting my son, Rhett. So, which is crazy because we were like, well, we're going to go to the courthouse and you're going to get adopted. Jeremy's going to officially be your dad. And he's like, he's always been my dad though. Right. And I'm like, you know, what's so funny? I've been very open that you've been like, you were conceived by a donor, mommy, like, you know, and I've been very open about the whole process. And then I met my husband. My son was 3 at the time, and we just stopped talking about it. So my son, he was like, oh, he had asked why we were showing photos of the babies in the hospital. And he was like, yeah, why wasn't dad there when I was born? And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
He doesn't realize that this guy was like, we've been talking about it. We're going to have to tell him, like, so you're getting adopted because he wasn't your dad from the start, but now he's going to be your dad forever, you know?
Yeah.
And so we'll have to figure out a way to, like, maneuver that. I just had stopped talking about the whole donor thing because that wasn't our story anymore. But I also forget that kids at that age, they have, like, the short-term memory, like, they don't realize, you know? So, and maybe it's like when he's older, but his teacher was like, yeah, so he started writing a new last name. And I'm like, okay, it's not official yet, but is like that okay? So we're trying to figure out all the logistics of all of the things as we're, like, going through the process.
Does that process take some time, the formal adoption?
So yes and no. So we skip a part, which is the part where the biological dad, because there isn't one. I was by myself on the birth certificate, and it's donor sperm. So typically where, like, a biological father would sign away his rights. So we skip that process. So they're kind of figuring out how to go around that. And then we have to go in front of a judge, and they have to, like, contact some of our, like, friends and family and ask if this is, like, a good fit and stuff. So we're excited, but I'm thinking probably within the year. We started it like 6 months ago. Yeah.
Well, what's your advice for someone who is right now in a season of grief and they think, I don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know where to move forward. I mean, you spoke to that prayer for God, place, one foot forward. But from one mom to another mom, what is your advice for them?
First and foremost, there is actually no rule book on how to grieve. So if you were grieving like me and that's at the end of a wine bottle, like, honestly, that's okay. There's no rule book saying, like, you can't. If you're grieving by going on walks and getting fit, if you're grieving by laying in bed and watching Netflix, like, there's really no rule book. Like, no one told us how to do anything. The best piece of advice is, like, don't stay in one emotion for too many days. So if your emotion is crying and watching Netflix movies, like, that's great for a day or two. But, like, let's go on a walk and let's do things. Yeah. Also know that, you're never going to be the same. Like, you're never going to be the same, but you will belly laugh again, and you will travel again, and you will find new friends like you. And this darkness that you're walking under, you're going to see light again. And some people say it takes 5 years. For me, it took about 3. And it's not that time heals. Time helps you learn management tools, like how you can manage your grief. And so for moms that have other kids, that happens pretty quickly because they're kind of forced. Yeah. So, but just knowing that you're not doing it wrong in whatever way you're grieving. So there's a popular influencer who lost a child right now, and she's kind of grieving. She came back and started posting, and people are being pretty critical that she's going on coffee walks, and
that's terrible.
And she's, like, cross stitching. And I'm thinking, I'm like, I would have rather been doing that than what I was getting myself into. But both were warranted. Both of those ways of grieving were warranted, because there's no rule book. So people expect, I think, the grieving to be at a cemetery every day and crying on a grave. And that's just like life goes on, the world keeps spinning. And just for some, it's going to be slowly, and for some, it's going to be quickly, and it's going to look different. And your pain's going to manifest in different ways throughout the rest of your life, you know? Bringing in new babies, like that kind of made me sad. I was like very heavily into like, oh, I remember when Deacon was born and I remember my birth story with him, you know? So just giving yourself grace and knowing there is no rule book. And there's also no rule book for your friends. So I lost a lot of friends because I believed that they should have been doing certain things. And I think they also thought maybe I should be doing certain things. There's no rule book for either parties, you know, and everybody's sad. So understanding that.
Yeah. Well, I'm grateful for your time, and I'm really inspired by the way that you use this experience to be on a mission to save so many other kids. Where can people follow you and keep up with the work that you're doing?
So I'm on Dani Morin 13 at TikTok and Dani Morin on Instagram. And I post, if you're on Instagram or TikTok, I post the same stuff everywhere. So you could follow me there. There's a lot of baby content right now. Just baby products that I'm reviewing and things that are safe and not safe and that I would recommend. But I'm happy to answer any questions anyone has if they want to slide into the DMs.
And I'm sure they will. And I'd also like to acknowledge that you actually work for a business called the New Mom School. And my friend actually started that business. We were preschool moms together. So it is really fun to see the way that business has grown, and to know that you're working with her is just icing on the cake.
Well, and you know what is also funny is I'm also a student there. So tomorrow I go to, it's called the Second Time Mom series, where it's like moms that have other kids at home. And so I'm a student there, and then I teach baby safety. But it's been so great because there's a lot that second time moms go through of like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm not there for my son as much. And like, oh my gosh, I feel all this guilt about it. I should be PTA president, and this is just like not my season, and I'm not doing as much, and I'm not cooking and baking, and I'm not, you know, going to all the events, and I'm late to the soccer games. And I sat in a circle with these moms, and they were like, same. No, same. Because same. I'm going through the same thing. I can't do nighttime routine because it conflicts with the bath time with this one. And like, and I was like, okay, so it's nothing to feel guilty of. We're all going through it. And that's like the power of New Mom School, is just sitting in a circle with other moms that are like, no, same. Because I'm feeling the same. Yeah, my boobs hurt too, you know?
Yeah. I think in the end of all things, everybody just wants to feel like they're understood and they're seen.
Exactly. Sometimes it can be so lonely. So yeah, but that's, I love the New Mom School for that, and social media, you know, people and podcasts, people sharing their stories, like me listening to your podcast. I'm like, yes, you know, people sharing their stories. It's so important.
Yeah. Well, thank you again.
Thank you.
The amazing Kate Casey.
I want to thank my great guest, Dani, and remind you to make sure that you click subscribe. Please leave a 5-star review if you have loved this episode. And I hope that you go back and check out all the other episodes as well. Also, make sure that you are subscribed to my What to Watch list, which is a what to watch list of everything in unscripted TV. It will come to you every Monday and serves as a great guide. Also, make sure that you check out bonus podcast episodes. This week's is a doozy, so go over to Apple Podcast or on Patreon, patreon.com/KKC. Make sure that you are in the Facebook group, Reality Life with KKC, and also follow me on social media. I'm on Instagram at @KKCCA, TikTok, it's KKC, and Twitter, Threads, and Blue Sky at @KKC. I have to tell you, next week, you're going to absolutely love the new episodes, so make sure you check back.